Hi and welcome to CBN4's Primetime News Package for this evening. I am Alian Christopher. First up tonight, and after much negotiations with the government of Dominica, the Dominica Public Service Union is finally getting much needed good news for the public servants. The increase was due at the end of September, but due to the passage of Hurricane Maria, this was not reflected. Thomas Later, the General Secretary of the Dominica Public Service Union, has more details.
We negotiated for salary increases for the period 2015 to 2018, and at the end of our negotiations we were supposed to be getting what is referred to as a double bubble for 2016-2017 and 3% salary increase for 2017-2018. Now the double as it is called is equivalent to 2 months salaries. It's a bonus equivalent to 2 months salaries. That should have been paid at the end of September. It was not paid. We expected it to have been paid at the end of October. It was not paid. So we wrote to the government seeking clarification and an explanation as to why it wasn't paid. And we got a response. We wrote on the 25th of October. And we got a response on the 27th indicating to us that because of the technical difficulties that had been experienced at various ministries, plus the treasury, that was not possible, and that is as a result of the hurricane. We were told that it will be paid, that is the equivalent, the double bubble, or the equivalence of 2 months salaries will be paid at the end of November. That is in addition to the 3% that is the new salaries, and the retroactive, which is 4 months from July to October, will be paid at the end of December.
And that was Thomas Later, the General Secretary of the Public Service Union. And in other news, since the passing of Hurricane Maria, more schools continue to open. Those that were badly affected, mostly having lost their coverings, are given tents that are being used as classrooms. Marissa Stedman has more.
While some schools in Dominica are reopening, there are others that still remain closed. The Maho Primary School is one such example. It has sustained a lot of damage on the rooftop, so tents like these have to be erected in order to resume classes. Of course, a number of the primary schools are still catering to only children in the 4th, 5th and 6th grade. To date, there is no indication as to when the primary school in Maho will resume as normal, since there is a lot of damage still evident on the property, and it still serves as a shelter for those persons who lost their homes. CBN4, Marissa Stedman.
The passage of Hurricane Maria has left many families homeless, some without a livelihood, and many Dominicans, their world has been turned upside down. The Permanent Secretary of the Ministry of Social Services said that even before the storm, the Ministry of Social Services already had many systems in place to handle the social welfare needs of Dominicans, which made it a bit easier to handle the impact.
In the sense that while we have established programs, we in the Ministry of Social Services, we have established programs to address issues like we have the Yes We Care. We have elderly persons that we already were taken care of. We also have the social welfare program where we provide public assistance to persons that are vulnerable, persons who are in need. There's a certain criteria that is being used, so we have had that program in place. We also have the chances where we make sure that our children are protected, child protection. And you know, these areas were impacted by Maria. We also have the Bureau of Gender, where we deal with women. So I think these established programs actually assisted us in providing a better or quicker response to the disaster, in that we have already established agencies that we have been working with, like UNICEF. We have been working with also UN Women. So it was easy in the sense that they were able to come to our aid because they already had ongoing programs in Dominica.
However, due to the devastation left behind by Hurricane Maria, the Ministry of Social Services has formed a special response team to zero in on the response of the needs of those directly affected.
Established a Ministry of Social Services response team that works on the community level. So we have officers from the Welfare Division, local authority, we have officers from Yes We Care, and we also have cooperative officers. So these are our field officers. We have combined them together, and they are doing things like shelter management, because you realize a lot of persons have moved to shelters, so they have the responsibility for both the community assessment, damage assessment to the whole country. So we have started. We have also solicited the support of the public service, and we have gotten the support from the Chief Personnel Officer, and the Cabinet has given endorsement for the utilization of other public officers.
Rui mentioned that at present there are teams on the ground speaking to those affected so that the ministry can put together a needs assessment on the community level.
Trying to conduct the assessments so that the findings from this assessment could be instructive. It will assist the agencies that are here. As you would realize, we have a lot of agencies here, and they are giving us support. And as we speak, UNICEF is at Fort Young. My focal point and the welfare officer, they are there, and they're actually looking at strategies to assist persons who are vulnerable, those who were already on the public assistance program, and those that we know that because of this disaster, they too will become vulnerable, and they too will be part of, the group that will be needing social assistance.
The Permanent Secretary also pointed out that the ministry has a special role to ensure that everyone is assisted.
Well, I just want to say to Dominicans that we at the Ministry of Social Services, the Minister, myself, and the staff, and with the support of the government, we realize our responsibility is even greater now with the impact, and we are committed to the cause to ensure that there's equity, and that persons who are at the lowest end, they can be met, their needs can be met. We do not want to segregate, and we want to make sure that everybody in Dominica that is affected, through the grace of God, that we'll be able to assist them. We want them to exercise some patience though, because we realize sometimes when people are displaced, the attitude, the behavior changes because of the state of mind. So we want them, if they feel very depressed, that they can call on the persons that are giving counseling. We have the Ministry of Health.
The Permanent Secretary in the Ministry of Social Services, Helen Royer, and Chief Executive Officer of the Dominica Air and Seaport Authority, Binwa Badwil, announced that Dominicans are now receiving duty-free concessions on personal effects at the Woodbridge Bay Port. Badwil revealed that the port has started to normalize since they have tackled the problem of storage by constructing temporary sheds for containers.
No, we've transferred the ferry operations back to the ferry terminal several days ago, and because it was putting tremendous pressure on our operations, and also the question of safety was a major issue for us, because you had hundreds of persons moving through large pieces of equipment, container moving equipment, forklift trucks, and that was not the best. And so we felt that it was important to be able to shift the operations back. And as far back as, I now say as far back as October 7th, somewhere there, we went back to the ferry terminal.
The ferry terminal in Roseau was unable to continue operations after the passing of Hurricane Maria. For that reason, the Woodbridge Bay Port served as Dominica's main port of entry and exit post-Maria. According to Badwil, the port is no longer serving as a ferry terminal.
No, we've transferred the ferry operations back to the ferry terminal several days ago, and because it was putting tremendous pressure on our operations, and also the question of safety was a major issue for us, because you had hundreds of persons moving through large pieces of equipment, container moving equipment, forklift trucks, and that was not the best. And so we felt that it was important to be able to shift the operations back. And as far back as, I now say as far back as October 7th, somewhere there, we went back to the ferry terminal.
The chief executive officer says that while there are still some challenges at the port, particularly having adequate storage and shelter, the port now has increased space that they did not have. In other news, the team leader Jan Willem Wedam of the International Organization for Migration, a United Nations agency, said that his team has been in Dominica since the deadly Hurricane Maria. Their mandate has been to work alongside the Ministry of Housing to coordinate shelter and have been distributing many items.
So my name is Jan Willem Wedam. I'm working for IOM, the International Organization for Migration. We arrived in Dominica just after the hurricane with a big team. We did assessments and currently we're, the last few weeks we distributed a lot of items, many tarpaulins, water filters, solar lamps, and that's still ongoing. Currently we're starting our operation in the northeast where we are helping people whose house has been damaged. We started with a roof repair program, so there's going to be a considerable number of roof repairs. So that's ongoing. In addition, we also collaborate with a lot of other organizations. So as the people might have seen, there are organizations like Red Cross, Caritas, Israel, UNDP, Samaritan's Purse.
Wedam said that his organization is broken up into 4 groups which are represented across the island of Dominica.
And they're all working in different areas. So if you're living in the northeast, for instance, then IOM will be the organization supporting you. If I go down, then in the southeast it's Israel, south it's CRS, Caritas, the southwest it's Red Cross, in the west it's Samaritan's Purse, and then in the northeast or the northwest it's emergency architects that are working there. So all those organizations are supporting families with repair of houses.
He also said that not everyone will qualify to receive housing because there are certain criteria which needs to be met.
The people that get priority are the people whose houses are damaged, but also are elderly, have children, one female-headed households, people with disabilities, people that are especially poor, people that are displaced. Those are the people that get priority before the people that are more able to recover themselves.
He also took the opportunity to reach out to members of communities affected to help the team in whatever way they can.
At the moment there's an assessment going on by the Ministry of Housing to go to every house and building in the country to assess the damage. So you can expect a visit of people from the Ministry of Housing to see how your house is doing and what the damage is. That information is being fed also to the organizations, so we can target the people and help you out. We can't do it ourselves. We need your help. We need your help in carrying materials, in showing us where the vulnerable people are, in providing us accommodation for a reasonable price. We need storage. We need people to carry materials. So let's do it together. We really try our best to mobilize, to move as fast as possible because the situation is really difficult. but together we can do it faster.
Meanwhile, Kira Paul, Social Development Planner at the Ministry of Planning, Economic Development, said that the ministry is currently working on a social protection mechanism which involves cash transfers to those affected with various objectives in mind.
So today we were looking at the process that would be involved at the community level of how we select committee members so that we have a beneficiary selection committee so that we have a transparent process, a legitimate process, and that there would be some sort of accountability to the donors who are providing the cash transfers, the state, and as well to the community that is being serviced. So what the cash working group decided to do was present cabinet with a targeting strategy and some concept notes on how the cash transfers would be approached. And so we are sitting deciding today on how it is that we're actually going to mobilize the community and organize the community so that they themselves would be involved in the process of selecting the beneficiaries for cash transfers.
Paul said that the Ministry of Housing is working with other international organizations who will be coming on board to assist based on the certain criteria.
From UNICEF, World Food Programme. We also are working together with the Red Cross because the Red Cross is also making their own provisions, and some other agencies who will be coming on board to provide some sort of cash transfers to a number of persons based on different targeting criteria such as vulnerabilities, whether the level of damage to sustain to their homes, and several other criteria as well.
Kira Paul, Social Development Planner at the Ministry of Planning, Economic Development. The St. Martin Primary Schools welcome the students of grades 4 to 6 to the school after the catastrophic Hurricane Maria. The school, which was being used as a hurricane shelter, was also impacted by the hurricane, having sustained damages to the roof, the infant section, and many classrooms. The principal of the school, Ms. Brynette Morrow, told CBN4 News that the parents were called in for a meeting before the reopening.
At St. Martin Primary School, we are very proud that we were able to open school today, Tuesday, 31st October, with our grade 4, 5 and 6 students. Yesterday, we had all our students from grade K to 6 with their parents come into school so we could discuss with them the reopening of school, which will be done in phases. Since we suffered a lot of loss in damage to the school, we have about 6 classroom blocks, and for now we are only able to use 2 of them to house students. Especially at the infant section, we cannot hold classes there yet.
Morrow told us that for the first few days, the students are expected to go through psychosocial therapy. Then next week, students are expected to start the regular schedule. The Ministry of Education is also playing a key role to ensure that the students are well taken care of at school.
Today, we are going to do the psychosocial therapy that involves the children giving their experiences, talking about what happened to them, doing drawings, designs, and just basically that's what we are going to do for the next 3 days with the students. Then from Monday, we will re-evaluate and have our students come and start the schoolwork with them, start their schedule, a normal schedule as much as possible. Of course, it's a shortened day, but what we will do, especially for their VPA, is alternate it, not have it every day, but every day have some VPA, but not all the subjects that we normally taught. So that's what we're going to do now. 70% of our students are unable to come to school in terms of their materials. So what we are going to try to do is to get the materials for our students. These first 3 days of school, we are going to be engaging in our psychosocial therapy that the Ministry of Education trained the teachers in. Our teachers have been there from the Monday after the storm. And we have met together, we have spoken, we have discussed, and we have cleaned and so on. So the classrooms are basically, those that are not damaged are ready for the students to come in.
Parents of students from grades K to 3 can expect their girls to return to school, with the older girls returning first, but there are 3 things which needs to happen first.
If the parent, as the parents, to give them water, because the amount of water that we get from the Ministry of Education is not enough, to give all the children. We ask them also to give the children hand sanitizers. Since we have water, the children can use the washrooms, and we also have a tank that in case the water goes. So basically, we are saying that all we need now is to get extra additional classroom space, and we have already been promised that we will get a few tents for the other students to come in. But we'll do it on a phase basis. So we're probably hoping that the grade 3s will come in next, and then we'll have the grade 2s, then the grade 1s and the grade Ks to come, to come to school with us.
The principal of the St. Martin Primary School said that the school has a plan in place to ensure the safety of its students.
In terms of what I want to tell the parents is that their children are safe at St. Martin Primary now. The grade 4, 5 and 6, we have a plan in place if it begins to rain. We have a plan in place if anything happens, what is going to happen. We have found, what we did was we asked each parent to give us their numbers. They can call the school, at the varying times, and they can come in. If they don't feel comfortable, they can come in and just see what is going on, which is what we did yesterday. They can see that here is a safe environment for the children. So more than anything, I think our children need safety, and that's what we're trying to give them. So the yard is clean. We have taken everything out that could give them any injuries, any danger to them. The yard is clean. The parents came in. We have, all the galvanized, everything has been taken away from the schoolyard. So once a parent puts a child in the schoolyard, they know that the children are safe.
The Food and Agriculture Organization of the United Nations have been actively involved in the response operation here in Dominica since the passing of Hurricane Maria, and now the organization is in the emergency relief phase. Daniel Barelli told CBN4 News that there are many sectors which the organization is working with to finalize the procurement of the emergency relief, which is coming here to Dominica.
When I mention the procurement, it means that includes different items such as agricultural seeds, fertilizers, animal feeds, fencing and storing materials, as well as other equipment for the fishery sector, such as gears, nets, and material to repair boats damaged, and so forth. So we've been closely working with the Minister of Agriculture to support the operation in the country. We are having a daily meeting with the ministry, as well as other organization working for the United Nations, especially WFP, World Food Programme, and others which are also looking at the agriculture and food security sector, which is the main sector of importance for our emergency response. Any other concern regards basically also the fishery sector, which we believe needs to be quickly back on its feet, and for this there would be the needs of having boats also distributed and procured for the fishermen. But usually these equipment are much more costly. Therefore, we're looking into funds possibility to also have these boats and vessels, replenished from scratch. Is basically new items, new boats we are talking about.
He said that the most important thing to note right now is access to the beneficiaries, but there is still some difficulty which needs to be addressed first.
Since most of the farmers are living in rural area, remote area, where there is a lot of issue in regards to access. So there are still feeder road and farm road that are blocked with a lot of debris. So we have to clean up and clear this road as much as possible in order to reach all the beneficiaries and the target communities. And also, as part of our response, we are procuring chainsaws and other heavy equipment which will enable, the clearing of the land and the farmland.
Barelli said in addition, the forest is also of a major concern.
And these forests are also very important for the watershed, the water control of the country. The forest, rehabilitation of the forest, it's also a priority for FAO as well as the Ministry of Agriculture and Fishery. And we're working closely to understand which will be the main approach to be used, to make sure that the forestry recover quickly after the hurricane. Of course, we believe that there is going to be a good chance that the forestry rehabilitate itself by natural regeneration. However, this will take years. trees. So meanwhile we should anyway consider replanting trees that have been lost, ensure that the wildlife is secured. There are parrots that are endangered at the moment because there are 2 endemic species in Dominica which are very important and are now basically flying and floating around without a secure place to stay. So we believe also forestry is something that we need to look at, take care of as soon as possible. However, the agriculture sector covers basically the crop production, the livestock production, as well as forestry and fishery. So it's a very large sector, and we're trying to address all the subsector,
With regard to livestock, Barelli said there is evidence that many animals have perished, especially poultry, and the FAO will be doing all in its power to assist, but for now, farmers are advised to ensure that their animals are securely fenced and fed and also vaccinated.
It's time for another #Dominica social media campaign. On November 3rd, 2017, let's celebrate the Nature Island's independence by flooding social media with images of Dominica. Post images of places to visit, our natural attraction, our food, our people, our culture, and of course, how Hurricane Maria affected you. Do include how amazing it feels to have survived that monster of a storm. Where do you post? On Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. How often? As many times as you want. Dominicans here and abroad, join us in lifting the spirits of the broken, proving to the world that we shall overcome, and celebrating our achievements as a people. As we remember, relive, and recover on November 3rd, 2017. Remember to make your profiles public and post and share using #Dominica.
And this has been the presentation of CBN4's Primetime News package for this evening. My name is Alian Christopher saying thank you for watching and enjoy the rest of your evening.